I think what he meant is that, finding, appreciating, and maintaining relationships gives life's journey purpose and roots. And that's why we're here together today as family. So just to talk about Mom and just kind of, Mom was a survivalist in terms of we had very little money when we were growing up, and Mom would always do what she could to create the best possible environment, for us kids, for Todd and I. We lived in a lot of different houses, and this involved making sure that each and every place that we lived was immaculate, was clean and scrubbed and sanitized, because that's what she could control at the time, when we were growing up. And you can ask, and John and Lori were just really, really helpful during that time. They were always there to help us with whatever house we were living in at the time.
It was fun, Sean.
And we had a lot of fun. We made it fun. We listened to a lot of great music. So thank you guys for being here. So shout out to John and Lori. I spent lots and lots of time. Give them a hand. Mom was fanatical about ironing. Right? We were by far the neatest, most pressed kids at school. We had those old corduroys, and they were just pressed perfectly, and that was another thing that she could control, and that was Mom to a T. And not only would she iron her clothes, but she'd iron everything else in the house as well. Something that you may or may not know about my mom, but she was uncharacteristically fair when it came to Todd and I. And each Christmas there would always be, we'd each have a bike, we'd each have a hockey stick. It was just very clear that she loved us both unconditionally, despite our flaws. And occasionally she would have, she had a thing called Mom's Helping Hand. It was a paddle that she had on a little thing back in the day. She would take that out and go after us sometimes, but she loved us without condition. Mom, in a sense, missed her calling professionally, in that she would have given Barbara Walters an absolute run for her money. She just was a master interviewer, and I'm sure you guys kind of know that about her. She would give you her full attention, and she would just, how's your friend Joey? Does he have a girlfriend? Where does she work? Did she go to school? And just, really drill down to that person's life. And she did it with her heart. She really was interested, genuinely. So, and I guess like the People magazines that you'd see on the living room table as we were growing up, Mom was just really interested in family and really interested in her friends. And everybody, let's have a toast to Mom.
Cheers.
Thanks again for coming. I think Todd might want to say a couple things. Tom or Todd? Yeah.
I'm coming.
Take your time. Anybody that wants to say anything
Elena.
on Mom's behalf?
Bring your chair. Bring your chair. Should she scoot it over in the shade? Yeah, I can scoot it over in the shade.
Maybe in the shade, or
Sean touched on a few things that, of course, I was going to go over, but once again, thanks for everybody showing up. Really good turnout. Thing with my mom, I'm kind of the nickname guy. Some of you know this. I just want to start at she was class. My mom's class. as growing up, getting up early for hockey, never forget a time when we did have hockey sticks, but if we did break one, well, she would cringe. I mean, 'cause we didn't know where the next, you know, was it a meal or was it the steak? And I was more of the hockey guy, but just simple stuff that really meant a lot to us. Fortitude made it to the next street job. But like I said, she was full class and everything she did, everything she touched. She cared. I mean, like you were saying, as far as she was really into, you know, who was doing what, but you know, to, you know, Sean's friends, my friends. And still, just we struggled. You know, we were in a car that shouldn't have made it to the hockey rink. But we made it through. Did a great job. I can't say enough. I'm not much of a speaker, but I loved her a lot, and yeah, I just want to thank you guys again for coming, and you know, it's all appreciated, and God bless.
Can we say congratulations to you, Todd, to all you've been through?
Dean, did you want to come up and say anything?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, honey. Barb. Yeah. Or, go ahead. Yeah.
Barb wants to come up and say a few things.
I said.
I'm a longtime friend of Judie's. We went to grade school and high school together. And I just wanted to mention how appropriate it was to have the bagpiper here today, because one of my favorite memories about Judie is during an all-class reunion, probably, I don't know, 30 years ago or better. And all of the girls that hung around together, Barb, Patty, Michelle, Kathy, we were all downtown in Hibbing. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and Judie was staying with her sister Betty at the park. And it was time for us to go home because the streets were wild. There were street dances, there was all kinds of stuff going on. And she was walking to the park, which was about 4 blocks from the main street. So I said, I will walk you halfway to the railroad tracks, and then you can run the rest of the way, and I'll run back to town. And I just got back to town, and I turned a corner to get my car, and here she was coming back. And I said, Judie, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be home. She said, the bagpipers start again, and they were calling me. I must have told them. And so here I am. And so I said, oh my gosh. I'll say, okay, because the bagpipers played in the parade for the Jubilee that day for this celebration. And they get kind of wild, and after the parade, they're downtown playing all the time. And they've been playing all night. And it was at around 2 o'clock when we thought they stopped and we were going home. But when she heard them, she came back. So so the bagpiper, it was so important because she absolutely loved them. And he is calling her, he called her home. So anyway, then I have one other story that I want to tell that, you know, some of the family members, especially Pat might remember, is that every time there's fog, Judy and I if we were in the car and there was fog, and she'd say, don't worry, Barb, don't worry, it's okay, they're just baby air waddies. And I went, well, what are baby air waddies? And she said, well, my brother Stanley told me not to be afraid of them. Whenever you see fog, you just walk through. They're baby air waddies, and they will not harm you. So whenever I'm in fog, I went, okay, I'm okay. Judy's brother Stan says they're harmless. They're just baby air waddies. I could go on and on about stories. We have a million of them. But anyway, those are the two that I always think of Judy, and I'm going to miss her a lot, and this is just not a happy day for us. So, thank you.
Barb, I hope you keep telling those stories, okay, please? Heather wants to say something.
I'm totally winging this.
When I think of Judie, I think of so many things about Judie. My whole life, she was this glamorous woman. Always tan. Always tan. And she always took the time with me from the time I was a tiny little girl. And then after college, I remember the first time I came here after Jude and Pat moved in, and everyone was so excited to be here, and you could just feel it in the air. My grandmother loved coming here. I'm Betty's granddaughter, for those of you who might not know. And just the joy of it, and the sisters having a compound, having like the Girl Squad headquarters. Sometimes we let the men come, but not very often. It was really like the girl hangout. And then after I graduated from college, I moved to the city, and I needed a place to live for a few months to get my feet on the ground, and Auntie Pat said I could live on her side, and that's when I really got to know Judie as a friend. And the questions she would ask, oh my gosh, she was like, you know, if you weren't used to it, you're taken back, but you know, you quickly get used to it and you love it. And she just became my confidant when I went searching for a place to live. When I was going to move out of here, we drove around uptown for hours. Like after work, we would go. It was so much fun. And then when she turned 60, Sean gave a speech about Judie. And the one thing, he touched on it, but the one thing I always remember, and it's my favorite thing about her in the speech, he took her name and broke down every letter. And when he got to I, he said interested, because Judie is interested in you. Yeah. Judie, you know, my friends, she will ask about them. And I always remember, like, Judie is interested. She's interested in every single little detail of your life, and she actually cares. Some people just ask to ask, but she meant it. And then I met my Bob Pisciotti, and she loved Bob. She thought he was wonderful. And then when she was getting ready to marry David, I was working on something for her, and we were talking about Judie's love of ironing. And Bob goes, heck, if David won't marry her, I'll marry her. She irons. She irons. I've never ironed a single thing for him since we've been married. We've been married a long time. But he loved the fact that she ironed. She in turn one day just dropped it. She's like, Bob, you got lucky hair there. And he's like, Auntie Judie. And she just smiled like she does. And then I had children, and she was so interested in my children, and she would tease them and play with them. How I saw her play with her own grandchildren. She always called Max cheeseburger and whipped cream, and they called each other back. And then when Max was about 2, I believe, he made up a song about Auntie Judie. The only words are Auntie Judie said over and over again to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I do not want to embarrass him, so I will not play it into the microphone, but come find me. I will play it for you. But Judie really was a force to be reckoned with, and if she was my friend, I would choose to hang out with her over a lot of my friends at times if I could, and we're very lucky to have had her. She loved you unconditional. She was not judgmental. She accepted you for who you were. And I think everybody here is a better person for knowing Judie, because I don't know where I would be without Aunt Judie. And all the sisters, actually. All of the Popovich sisters. And the brothers. But mostly the sisters. Thank you.
Tommy, did you want to come up and maybe say a few things? Anybody can come up? Share.
Hello, my name's Tom Fields. I'm Pat's #1 son. Judy's nephew. And Heather was right. The only time I got to come here is once a year. This was the ladies' compound. So, once a year, me, my brother-in-law, and nephews would travel from Georgia up to Minnesota for a fishing tournament, or at least that's what we told our moms. And we would meet our cousins, our northern cousins, and go fishing. And on the trip back to Minneapolis, Judie always had a meal prepared for us, and with the family in the area. Those Popovich girls knew how to spoil their men, and we were definitely spoiled with that. But you could tell how much she loved those family gatherings, and she's just enjoyed all of us being here. And Judie's gone, but the memories will last forever. God bless the memories.
Anybody else want to come up and share? Thank you, Lori.
I'm a little shaky, but.
That's okay. Nobody's gonna.
Yeah, by me.
Hi, I'm Lori, and I met Judie back in '74. John and I were caretakers in an apartment building on 33rd and Longfellow, and she came with these two beautiful boys. Yes, ironed, and I think their hair was even ironed. Beautiful family. Judie and I became instant friends. And we remained friends. And Judie, yes, she loved cleaning. And John and I, my husband, we did, at every house she moved into, we were there. She would tell me what to do, what room to clean, and I would clean it. And she'd go to the other room, and then we'd meet in the middle, have a drink. I was the one with the hammer. She would tell me where to put the pitcher. It was a lot of fun. And we did it to Doobie Brothers, Chicago, Lionel Richie. And actually, we went to Lionel Richie, Judie, John, and I, and Prince. So yeah, we have a lot of history, Judie and I, and some things I can't say. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And Todd was talking about the car that hardly made it to hockey practice. Well, Judie, she had a big red old car, and we called it the steamroller. But with the class Judie had, we went to Lord Fletcher's, and she had valet parking. So yeah, she was really a classy lady. I learned a lot from her. Cleaning. Laughing.
Yep.
She had a wonderful laugh. Yep, and we laughed a lot. And Judie and I were not athletic, but we took tennis lessons one time at Sibley Park. And you know how big a racket is and how small the ball is? We would laugh, and we had to walk away from it because we couldn't even bounce the ball with that racket. So we went to walking. But anyway, I love her family. You guys all did a beautiful job. She would have loved this. I told Pat she was probably up there just dancing a jig to the bagpipes. So just thank you guys. We're all blessed to have known her.
Thanks, Lori.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, honey. Elena's going to say something.
Well, I can't wing it like Heather. So I got some notes.
It's so good.
That I actually sent to Paula before she wrote the obituary. And again, thank you, Paula, for that. This is a really special place for me. This 46th and Falwell. And it's like a holy space for our family. And it seems really appropriate that we're all here today saying goodbye to Grandma and saying goodbye to this place, which I'm gonna miss dearly. It's the end of an era for us. So many family memories, holidays and dance parties on Thanksgiving,
Croquet tournaments.
meals. And we were talking the other day about how she immaculately wrapped her gifts on holidays, and she would iron the ribbons. And I look around here and I just see memories of her, sitting out here under these umbrellas, having coffee with Pat. Watching Bella, she had a little leash hooked up right around here, walk around. I've taken Bella out to go TT many times, most of you probably. And I look around at the cracks on the driveway, and I think of Grandma, like, okay, Elena, will you go out there and dig the weeds out of the cracks? And she kept everything. And I said in this, if you all take a bookmark before you leave out back, but she kept everything beautiful. She was beautiful, and she kept herself beautiful, and she kept her spaces beautiful. So I'm going to go to my notes now. She taught our whole family about what it means to work hard. And these days, that's a real gift, I think, that I don't take for granted. She worked tirelessly. I saw my grandma work so hard at the grocery store and cleaning houses. She would take me to the grocery store sometimes when we would have sleepovers, and I'd get to pick out little pints of ice cream, Haagen-Dazs or something like that. She taught us never to shame anybody for the type of work that they did. And this is one of the lessons of respect and dignity that I'll carry with me forever for the rest of my life. She never left the house or even allowed people to come over until she was looking her very best. Okay? She'd call me. The last visit I had with her, I was going to come over at 10. Elena, can you come over at 1 instead? Because she needed to get her hair right, and she really prided herself on looking her best. She had a little vanity set up in the guest bedroom next to the daybed with her curling irons, and I can just see her sitting at the vanity, getting herself beautiful. Right next to the vanity is where she'd put the ironing board as well. So, by the way, with the ironing, one last thing. She'd also iron Bella's clothes. She ironed all of her outfits, and Bella had many, many outfits. In fact, David made a whole wardrobe just for Bella, with hangers and everything. She loved that dog so much. And I can't promise that Bella's going to continue to be as well dressed. Just like Dad and Uncle Todd when they moved out of the house, probably weren't as well dressed. That's what he said. That was probably the best we ever looked, was when we. So one story, when I was 15 years old, I performed in the Nutcracker at the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul. And she came to all of my Nutcrackers. She never missed a dance performance. And neither did Todd and Brenda, I know, or my dad, Kat. So, Grandma Judie showed up in furs, and boots, and gloves, and a gorgeous hat, and oh my gosh, she looked amazing, as always, but it was the holidays, and she was looking fine. She met me out. I would come out, at the end of the show, and with all the other attendees, and she'd hand me flowers, as she did every year, bring me flowers, and congratulated me on the show. And I went backstage after the show, and to, gather my things and to get ready to go home. And one of my friends, her name was Liz, came up to me. She needed to talk to me. Oh, Lena, your grandma is absolutely fabulous. I know. So she also made sure I looked good. All right. Before riding the plane to go to Georgia, we were on buddy passes, thanks to Aunt Pat. We would visit Aunt Pat and cousin Jamie. And go to Destin, and I'd hit up Georgia and hang in Georgia with the family. Those were the best times. But we would go to Elite Repeat. We'd go shopping around Minneapolis to get the perfect outfit, and it would be pressed to the nines before we boarded that plane. So I always had my hair curled. I always looked good when I was with her. And as I kind of grew up a little, I thought maybe it was kind of frivolous or vain, and I didn't know how I felt about it. But as I've grown up and I've reflected on my life and her life, I really recognize that there's something so beautiful about taking care of yourself in this way. And there's a gift card that I picked up one time, and it says, "Present yourself as though you are a gift." And she was such a gift to all of us. She loved music, And, well, Natalia, you have to tell the story about Adele. 'Cause I wrote it down, but I'm not going to tell it. Or do you want me to tell? Will you? You can tell it. Good. She's got a good story about music. But she also loved to dance. And if there was a dance floor and a band or a DJ, she was going to be out there doing her thing and shaking it up. And so she was fun. And how many people can say that, you know, she was a really fun grandma. Sunflowers were her favorite flower. You'll see lots of sunflowers around here. And the sisters and I have talked about maybe getting tattoos, which I vowed I'd never get a tattoo, so we'll see. I still have to work my way up to it, but she planted them every year in her backyard, and she had t-shirts with them on, and flip-flops with faux sunflowers, and she just liked the light, bright yellow sunflowers. And if she was here, she'd say, "Oh my gosh, aren't those girls absolutely darling?" That's what she'd say about them. "Oh, isn't she adorable? Isn't she absolutely darling? She has the most amazing figure." She'd say things like that. And she would ask a million questions, as we talked about. She was really interested in everyone, so you guys all touched on that. But one of the last memories was my wedding. I did an African dance. So I traveled to Africa while I was in college, and I joined a company, and we would perform at community events here and there. And in past, like talking to her before, while I was engaged, I said, "Well, you know, we might do a dance at the wedding." And she really, really once I said that, she would not let me forget it. So the whole, 6-7 months we were planning my wedding. Every time she talked to me, "You're gonna do that dance, right? You're gonna do that dance." And letting one of my friends kind of was backing out on me. She's like, "I don't know if I want to do it. I'm not feeling well." I said, "I promised my grandma we were going to do this dang dance." And so we are dancing. So we did a West African dance with live drums, and it was a memorable part of my wedding, and it's really just because of Grandma. Thank you. And it was because of her, because she would not let me back out on my promise on that one. So you just have to walk around her house to see all the pictures of family and loved ones, to know how important, her friends and her family were to her. She had lots of close friends, and you were all very loyal, and she was loyal to you. And I said to Paula, she never spread herself thin, and she always had time. And what Dad says is, how do you spell love? Time, right? So that's all I have. But
Brenda, did you want to say anything? Okay.
Go ahead, Talia.
Anybody else?
Natalia.
Yeah, Talia.
Talia wants to say something.
Okay, hi, I'm Talia. I'm Judie's granddaughter. And just the story that Elena alluded to, that I told Elena, was that every year I would go to Grandma's house for a sleepover for my birthday, and then we'd go on a shopping trip, very fun. I looked forward to it every year. And there was one year, and my birthday's in December, so it was always very snowy. And there was one year where we went to the mall, and the weather was totally fine. But at Southdale Mall, of course, obviously. And we went to Southdale Mall. And then on the way back, it was just a blizzard, and Grandma was so nervous about it. She was like, "Oh my gosh, how are we going to drive back?" But she was like, "It's okay, I'll do it." And I was like, "All right, let's go." And then, and she loved Adele, so we were listening to Adele on the way home, and it was, like an Adele album had just come out or something. It was like, she had been listening to it constantly, so we listened to it on the way home, and my mom, when she's nervous about driving, kind of like doesn't listen to music. So, and I was a kid, so I was like, okay, I guess we're listening to music while we're, crazy driving. But I was like, all right. And then just, Grandma was so anxious about the snow. And so we're driving, and then every time she goes, oh my gosh, and then she just keeps turning me down louder. Oh my gosh, okay, and then she just keeps turning it louder. So by the time we got close to home, it was just so loud, and I was so like, what is going on? Anyway, that's my story about Grandma, but yeah, I loved her very much.
Anybody else want to say anything? We have got some music that Mom loved, and so we really would like you guys to stick around, party with us and enjoy the music and visit, and so things are just kind of getting started. So thanks again for coming, and we'll get that cranked up, and we got the beverages in there. There's more food, so let's do it.
All right.
Get this party started.